Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Recruiters with No Limits. Always live and never scripted. I'm here with my sidekick and co-host, John Ruffini. What's up, John?
How you doing, Richard?
Good. And our guest today, I'm just going to bring him on right now, Brad Smith of Haley Marketing. What's going on, Brad?
Thanks for having me, Richard and John. Really appreciate it. Excited for the talk today.
Awesome. As you can tell right off the bat, we are all pinked out this whole month for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So get out there and support breast cancer. It's true to all our hearts there. And I got to tell you guys, real man, do rock pink. It is what it is, right? Always having fun. But before we deep dive into everything, how about staffing world? I mean, the staffing world buzz, more ways than one. I mean, it just, for me, it was so much excitement, knowledge, and energy. What do you guys think? What do you think, Brad?
It was fantastic. It was great just to be face to face again with people and having those conversations. I had the chance to talk with and see both of you at Staffing World, which was terrific. And I was amazed at the number of attendees there. I was expecting, a fraction of what we see in past years, but conference was mobbed. The sessions were standing room only in many cases. It was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I was very happy that what they say. I think the in-person attendance was something like 1,500 people, and then they had more people virtual. But it was a great crowd. I thought ASA did a great job of their pre-conference protection measures to make everybody feel really comfortable. And it looked like you were getting a lot of foot traffic in the expo hall, so that's always a good thing to see.
We sure were. Yeah, amazing conversations, and what was great is that. Being off last year, I think a lot of people were really there to talk with vendors, to talk with other attendees, to really learn what's going on in the industry, look at new technologies, look at what's happening, look at how people are overcoming no calls and no shows, and really get into those strategic deep dive conversations, which was terrific.
Agreed.
Awesome stuff here. Okay, before we even start, you guys know I always do something out of control all the time. Look at this shot glass from Haley Marketing.
Love it.
I'm going to tell you, is this water or tequila? You'll never know.
We'll never know. It's clear liquid. Yeah. So
maybe vodka.
Right. What a way to start the show. One way or the other. It's
Brad, we'll be able to tell in about 20 minutes.
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah, when I fall asleep or pass out. No, I'm just joking. But so, hey, Brad, great to come on here. I'm definitely looking forward to this. I mean, website. That's a big thing these days. So make your website work for you. That's our topic today. Let's just deep dive into it and tell us a little bit about start with the integration all the way to the end.
Sure thing. Yeah. So I like to think of a website as really your core of marketing activity, right? Think of it this way. Companies pay so much money to have nice brick and mortars. They pay so much to have a great waiting room, great interview rooms. The number of people that walk through your front door, especially now, is a fraction of the number of people that visit your website. So we really need to invest a lot into our online presence. There's statistics out there that show, 80 to 90% of people won't even consider doing business with you until they do research about you online. So they're going to go look at your website. They're going to go look at reviews. They're going to form their own impression before they even talk with you. And in many cases, if you don't have a strong online presence, they're going to move right onto your competition. So it's vital that you have a really strong website presence. And what really goes into a strong website presence? Well, number one, you need to make sure that you're on a secure environment. You need to make sure that your site is HTTPS secure. First and foremost, we need to make sure of that. But then I really dig into messaging. So we need to think about who the core target audience is you're trying to reach. And with staffing and recruiting companies, you really have two buyers. There's the client and there's the candidate. And we need to make it simple and seamless for them to know exactly where to go and exactly what action to take. We also need to think through what the messaging is. All too often, one of the biggest mistakes I see staffing and recruiting companies make is talking all about them. So why their company is so good, what makes them so great, what makes them a specialist. We need to flip that. We need to, instead of talking about what makes us great, talk about the value we provide to the end buyer. So what value do you provide to that hiring manager, that department head, the owner of that company? Okay. It's not about what you do. It's about the value you provide. On the employee side, we really need to focus on what makes you unique and what makes you different. Again, tying the value back to the employee. Is it that you're helping them get a raise, get a shorter commute, get a job at a company that they didn't think that they could get into, get a promotion? What is the value that you provide to them? Is it that you're giving them training, a foot in the door, a better connection, access to opportunities they wouldn't find elsewhere? So don't talk all about you and your services. Talk about all of the benefits that you provide to the end candidate or the end client.
Love that.
Yeah. And then a few other things. We need to make sure that we have a conversion path clearly defined. And again, thinking through both of those audiences. On the client side, what does the client really want? They want access to talent. They want to secure that talent. They want to know that they're working with an expert in the industry. Do you have testimonials, case studies, support that really guides them down that path? And then are you making working with you easy? So is there an easy, simple form that's not a mile long that asks them for every little bit of information that they could possibly enter? Are you just capturing their name and their email address and maybe phone number so that you can follow up and schedule a consultation? But more importantly, I think on the talent side, we need to look at our application process. And this is another big area where I see some staffing and recruiting companies fall down, is that their recruiting process takes forever.
So true.
It's a big mistake, right? So if you're asking for social security number, if you're asking for their last 5 jobs, if you're asking for references and you're having them jump through hoops
before you even talk to them.
Before you even talk to them. Exactly. Yeah. They're not going to do it. Right? They're going to go on to the competitor and you're going to lose that talent. And with the war on talent that we're facing right now, you can't afford to do that. Also, what happens on here on your mobile device, right? Many applications might look good on desktop, but if you're recruiting in a space like healthcare or light industrial or just about any position, you need to make sure that you have an amazing mobile experience for the job seeker. You need to make sure that you're cutting through that red tape. If your application requires a resume and you're getting in front of a light industrial audience or you're getting in front of nursing, I don't know about you, but I don't have my resume on my phone. So think through that mobile experience and make sure that it's just as easy on desktop as it is on mobile, and provide a great experience to candidates. It's really going to set you apart from the competition and help increase your conversion rates, both on the client and candidate side.
Boy, I'm incredibly passionate about that part of the business. And I think that we've got across the board a long way to go when you talk about improving the candidate experience. And you're absolutely right in the sense that candidates want to go with companies and they'll tell their friends about companies that are easy to do business with. So if the application process, and some people look at the candidate experience, when we interview them. No. I say it starts initially when they're going to apply, when they're considering applying either for you or through you. That application process from start to end has to be as smooth and easy on the candidate as possible, with a lot of interaction in multiple mediums with the company throughout the process, in order for them to really feel connected. Would you agree?
I agree 100%, John. And you hit the nail on the head. That candidate relationship doesn't just start when you talk to them. They've already spent maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe an hour learning about your organization before they even talk to you. That's when the relationship starts. So you need to make sure that you're streamlining that approach, making it simple, making it easy, making sure they understand the value that they're going to get out of spending time to even talk with you before they talk with you. And it starts the second they hit your website.
So true. And that we have one shot with these candidates. When we have to say, the application goes online, you have to go on a computer. You're so right, Brad. In light industrial, 99.9% of the people want to do their application on the phone. I see it all the time. And if it's not, it's hard to get hold of them.
It sure is. Yeah. And, people want as seamless of an approach as they can take. They don't want to talk. They want to fill out an application. They want some immediacy, especially in some different industries. And that brings up another point where we need to be responsive. So if somebody submits an application or submits a form and you're not getting back to them within a few minutes, they're moving on. And that's one of the constant complaints I heard from staffing and recruiting companies is that, oh boy, candidates are ghosting me. Well, if they applied yesterday and you didn't call them a couple minutes after they applied, they've already moved on. So it wasn't in their mind, you're ghosting them, not the other way around. So we need to be as responsive as we can, and also embrace technology to help do this. And I know, John, you're a big proponent of technology, and I know you are too, Richard. But think through, how can we use technology to speed up that process of instant communication, of instant gratification, and connect better with employees so that we can build that deeper personal relationship.
Agreed. And you're right. I'm a big fan of technology where it's appropriate. And there's a lot of automation that we can build into the process. I'm always a believer that at some point you've got to have that interaction, be it in person or on the phone, because otherwise you won't form that relationships that's necessary for the candidate and recruiter to really have a partnership moving forward. But it doesn't have to start like if you email me or if you fill out an application and I get it in my inbox, I might be right in the middle of closing another deal. So I might not get to it. So there can be an automated process that recognizes that, fires off something immediately to at least tell you, hey, I received it. I'm going to plan on calling you within the next, I don't know, a time period. You can have that go back and forth. I'm still alerted. You get the touch. Yep. And everybody wins. And hopefully at that point, you got a better chance. Because you're absolutely right that we live in such an immediate gratification society that, I mean, think about when people text each other. You text someone, if they don't reply right away, you're like, what's the matter? Yep. Why aren't they replying? They read it. Why didn't they reply? So it's that whole concept of, well, what am I not good enough? Come on.
Exactly. Yeah. And even worse, you see that ... You think that they're typing, and then you're just sitting there wondering what the heck has happened. Am I getting ghosted? Did I say something that offended them? Am I not moving on to the next round? So I think anything we can do, and leveraging technology to a point, I think makes sense. But to your point, John, at some point you have to have that personal relationship, but we can use the tech to maybe build in a little bit of buffer there and make people feel noticed, make people feel appreciated, and let them understand that you're going to get back to them.
Exactly. And that is so true, guys. You just hit it on the head. 7:00 last night, I sent personal messages on Facebook to 11 people. Took me, 3 minutes, and hey, I'll get back to you tomorrow, Richard, with my tag. That's what we need to do, communication. One thing I'm going to throw out there on a little note here, I got a poll on LinkedIn, and it says, do you recruit on the weekends? And Brad and John, wait till you see it so far. It is almost even. Can you believe that? And
really?
Wait till you see it.
Times have changed, my man. I remember back in the day.
I love it. I'm recruiting on Sundays before the football game. It's like, and then I might be recruiting all Sundays if the Steelers keep losing. So, But no, I think you guys hit it on the head. It's all about that, personal communication and a human connection with the technology. You got to do both.
It is. And it's interesting that you bring up the weekend. So historically, I track data on, 500-600 different staffing and recruiting websites. And what you find is that traffic throughout the week, usually it's high on Monday, peaks probably Wednesday, and then drops on Thursday, Friday. Over the weekends, it drops to minimal levels. And what I love about you doing recruiting on the weekend is that you're active, you're out there, you're doing outreach, you're getting people when their defenses are down, you're standing out, because in many cases, they may not necessarily be thinking about employment. They might be thinking about the weekend, but you hit them with the right message, with the right value proposition. They're going to be all ears, because they're not going to be flooded with 10 other staffing and recruiting companies that are trying to reach them. They're captive audience there.
Exactly. And you know what they all say? You're working on the weekend. You're taking your time out for me.
Yep.
Then there's the relationship building right there.
Yep. I mean, you become their agent, not necessarily just some recruiter giving them a call.
Is that what I'm called? The agent?
I was going to say that couldn't have been set up better for you, Richard.
I know. Hey, Brad, your gift card will be sent in the mail.
Perfect. I love it.
Brad, question. Twofold question. Number one, when a company puts a website out there, they can do the most amazing job aesthetically with the look and feel and flow and navigation of the website. Initial question is, what are some of the better ways for them to then drive traffic to that website?
Yeah, great question. And I'm going to get on my horse here. And John, I'm going to have to send you a gift card now too, because you said this perfectly. But it's content. So content really is king. We need to think about what are the core issues and core problems that our target audiences have. Okay. And it's not just staffing related. It's not just career related or job search related. It's what are their biggest life challenges? What are their biggest life issues? What's keeping them up at night and what headaches do they have? And if we can plan that out and build profiles for each one of our target audiences, that creates an amazing content calendar that we can begin building content around. So we might think about things like work-life balance. We might think about things like how do we get a raise? We might think about things like how do I climb the career ladder in this specific industry? So what does training look like? What certifications do I need? How do I go from level 1 to level 2 to level 3? What does that process look like? What is the pay range for each of those look like? What are the core skills or core competencies I need to be successful in these areas? So we begin to build out this stream of content, and over time, we capture the attention of Google and Bing and Yahoo, and we increase our search rank. We also can then leverage that content in all other medium. So we can look at social media. We can post that content out into LinkedIn groups and Facebook groups. We can leverage Twitter. We can leverage some of the new things like Snap or like TikTok and have some fun with it. But what we do is drive all that traffic back to our core website where they can consume that content in the full length. But then
So have a teaser on a social site that leads you to the website.
You've got it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then we take them from the social site back to our website where they can take action. They can complete a form if they're a client. They can complete an application if they're a candidate. But we need to make sure that all of that content isn't self-serving. Again, it's not about us as the staffing company or the recruiter. It's about the end problem that that person has. And you could almost look at it as you're the guide. So you're not the hero in the story. The client's the hero or the candidate's the hero, but you're the guide that gets them to that end destination. And if you can position yourself as the guide and you can make them the hero, they're gonna want to work with you.
I love that, Brad, what you said. That's right on. I don't know if you guys seen, but I did a video sitting at Panera Bread with 3 people, and the one guy, we did stages. He's like, "You're the shit." I mean, I put it out there. I said, "What's your experience like?" And we all went around the table there. We filmed it, and I put it out there. And it's like people's calling me now because they're like, "This is a real person." So I don't think we have to put now hiring all the time or selling our jobs. I think we have to talk about stories that relate to people. You hit it on the head, Brad.
Exactly. Yeah. And you just said it, Richard. Like, let's film that stuff. Let's create advocates. Let's, instead of saying how great we are, let's get our candidates to say how great we are.
Exactly. They're the player. I'm the coach.
I'm amazed at how that's not being done more. You see a few companies that do it, but it's your best form of public relations and marketing by getting the candidates you place and the clients that you serve to talk about working with you and what the benefit is. To me, that's a no-brainer. I think it's a great strategy and usually pretty easy.
It really is. Yeah. If you look at any market and you look at a recruiting or staffing company, you're hard pressed to find a company that has over 100 reviews. Okay. Think about the volume of candidates you talk to day in and day out. You should be able to get 100 reviews in a month or two. And you can position yourself as the most reviewed, highest rated staffing company in the market who's not going to want to work with you because there's all this proof that you're already doing an amazing job for people just like me. So build up those reviews, but then take it to the next level. Let's get those reviews from Google or Facebook in text format. Let's get some video reviews. Let's get them out there actively in the market, telling everybody and becoming a recruitment and referral source for you. There's so much power in that.
Hey, Fred, what do you think of the videos? I mean, I'm a big video person. John is too. I mean, I think video ads are just taking off with captions on them. What's your take on all that?
They really are. I love video. The social networks have algorithms that prefer video. If you can start to get some engagement, you're going to see a lot of increased exposure there. YouTube is the second most frequented search engine behind Google. Who owns YouTube?
We are YouTube.
Yep. So I think video is so beneficial. I would get this video, I would embed it on your website, show people what people are really saying about your organization. I would put it up on YouTube. I would leverage it as native video on all the social platforms. Take it and post that on LinkedIn, post it on Facebook, post it as the direct video recording as opposed to just linking to a YouTube video on Facebook. You're going to get more reach. I also just saw a stat that people now are spending more minutes per day on TikTok than they are on YouTube. They just surpassed that. So think about even short format content and what you can do to get that message out. I think there's just so much you can do with video. And what's great is that our industry really hasn't scratched the surface. So you might feel like you're a late entry to the party, but you're really not. You can be a leader.
That's comforting.
Yep. Exactly. And that's that change we have to say. Challenges equals change. We're still changing. Some people are going slower. The rest of us are on a surfboard riding a wave.
Yep. We
Brett,
are.
Brett,
sorry, go ahead, John.
I was going to ask you a question. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we also don't want to put all of our eggs in one basket. So don't just go 100% all in on video. Don't just go 100% all in on text. Have a nice mix of different items. We do a podcast, we do video, we do written, we do ebooks, we do pillar content, infographics. Different types of mediums are going to appeal to different types of people. So your underlying message, your story, your content can be the same, but use different approaches to appeal to different audiences.
What are your thoughts on bots? That's a big buzzword in our industry. Is everybody wants a bot? Kind of like, you go to a page and some little helper comes up, automated. Hey, how can I help you? My name is so and so. What are your thoughts on bots, and do they have a place in our world?
I think they do have a place in our world because of instant gratification, right? So somebody wants an instant response. I think bots are really powerful if you pair that technology with a person behind the scenes. So if they can help make that personal connection quicker, sooner, faster, I think they have a place. I think they can be used effectively to answer common questions like asking for directions to the office or hours or things like that. So I think there's some benefit there. But I think when they're really, truly effective is when they're paired with a person behind the scenes. So you can automate as much as possible, but we want to make sure that people understand that there's a person that they can speak with and they can begin to build that relationship. So I would use it as a way to eliminate some of the mundane administrative questions that you get, but also use it as a primer to get to that deeper conversation faster.
So at some point in the bot, have an escape clause where, hey, would you like to speak to someone live, and always have someone standing by that's going to be responsible for fielding inquiries from the bot.
I love that approach. Yeah. Now, not necessarily a bot, but looking at things like candidate automation and communication platforms, I think is really impactful. So, it's automated, it's preform text and kind of like a bot, but it helps initiate more personal one-to-one conversations. And I think it's so powerful, and it eliminates a lot of the monotony of the recruiter and helps make them more efficient and effective. So they can reach out to hundreds of people via technology, but then spend the good amount of their time focusing on the 5 people that really need that attention. So I think pairing technology and your personal approach and making your recruiters more effective and efficient is going to win 9 times out of 10.
And that's always the, where to strike the right balance. I think that's what a lot of firms struggle with, is how much technology, how much human, where's the right balance? What do we use technology for that makes sense to free up the time of the recruiter? But then what does the recruiter really, we don't want them being reliant or leaning on technology because it's easier, but there's a lot of things behind the scenes that could be done without them even realizing it that actually make their jobs much more efficient.
You've got that. Yep. And we need to make sure that our recruiters also aren't afraid of the technology. The last thing we're trying to do is replace them.
Right.
It's quite the opposite. We're trying to make them more effective and more efficient so that they can make more placements and make more money. Right. So I think we need to look at embracing technology across all levels of the organization and figuring out where that strategically fits in with that more personal one-to-one approach that historically our business has been built on.
Hey, what was it? I think we're, 20 plus years ago, the first job board came on the scene and everybody said recruiters were going to be obsolete.
Yep.
The story tells itself. To your point, there's a place for technology, but the recruiter relationship with the candidate and the client will, in my opinion, it will never die.
Yeah,
So
it won't. And we can only use technology to strengthen it, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think you both agree on this. The technology is great, but I think sometimes recruiters lost that human connection. They rely on the click and pray. We always say that on job boards and wait for somebody to come back. You got to be out there. And one thing I got to ask you, Brad, about sort of like what John talked about, staffing or personal branding on your website. What do you think about having the leadership, their pictures and profiles and that? I see so many that are just generic. You don't even know who works for the company.
Yeah, I drives me nuts when you don't know who works for the company. It would, drive me nuts as a candidate to get a phone call from a recruiter and not be able to find information about them, not be able to see their picture or what their background is or what they like to do on the weekend, other than calling, what they like to do on the weekend and what their hobbies are, it just builds such a strong bond. And in certain industries, like you take healthcare, there's a lot of data and reports out there that say nurses work with a staffing company, not because of the staffing or recruiting company, but because of the recruiter.
Right.
Because they formed that bond and that relationship. Let's soften that right from the start. Let's get people to understand who you are as a person, both with the company and outside of the company. Build your brand and make stronger, more personal connections. They're going to feel more comfortable. You're going to feel more comfortable, and it's going to lead to a lot more business.
Couldn't agree more. We're always asking, it's a two-way street. We always encourage our recruiters, hey, get to know your candidates as people first. Don't treat them like a transaction.
Yep.
But what we often overlook is that the candidate wants that same intel from the recruiter. If we're asking to get to know them and for them to be vulnerable, we need to be vulnerable also and share a little bit of ourselves and be authentic. And that tends to your point, develop a more loyal relationship on both sides. And you're right. I've known nurses, I've run into nurses that have been with the same recruiter for 15, 18 years because they just get each other. And there's a lot of trust there that they're not going to put them on an assignment that doesn't make sense.
Exactly. Yeah. They've built up that rapport over time. They trust, they see you as a career agent, not just some recruiter.
Right. We say that key word again, agent.
You got it.
Trademark that, right?
Yep.
but you're so right, both of you, on that. It's like, I don't interview anybody. It's a coffee chat, beer chat. I want to get to know them the first 3 minutes. And you know what? 90% of them say, I feel like you're like my uncle. If you get the job, let's go have a beer together. It's okay. I mean, we can let our hair down.
Well, because you're not selling, Richard. You're, too many recruiters. We've talked about this. They go in for the jugular. They're like, oh, I have to recruit you. I have to place you in this job without even getting to know the person. Your approach is so welcome because you're not selling. You're just saying, hey, let me get to know you, and then let's figure out what we can do together, which I embrace totally.
Just like a head coach, plug and play. Are you going to be a quarterback or receiver? Let's see what position's good for you. We're not going to force you in anywhere.
Yeah, for sure. And I obviously I sell marketing services. That's what we do. But I say all the time that in 20 years I've never sold a single thing.
Love that.
I don't sell. I consult. And in fact, if I don't agree with something and a client would want a specific type of campaign and I don't think it's going to be effective, I will do everything that I can to talk them out of it and explain why a different approach would make more sense. I don't want to sell anything. I don't want to get business if it's not going to be beneficial on both ends, because I think over time, if I make the right recommendations, make the right decisions, even if in the short term, it's not financially advantageous for me, long term will win out on both sides. So it's the same with that candidate relationship. It's not recruiting. It's not selling. It's building that bond and doing what's right for the candidate. And over time, it's going to help and be what's right for your business.
Yeah, if you do your job right in a recruiting role or any sales role, to your point, as long as you listen, you never have to sell anything.
Yeah,
you're right. Sure. And I got to say one thing, Haley Marketing, every staffing firm should look at their culture. I mean, you see, you got pictures, you guys have fun, you do different things. I mean, I wish I was close to Buffalo. I'd be joining you guys for everything, but that's what we have to get back to. We have to make recruiters happy, have fun. You're supposed to go to your job and freaking love it, right?
Yep.
And you guys have stood the test of time, so something's got to be working right.
Yeah, it seems to be, but we're always we're always reinventing and reiterating and doing different things. At the core, we obviously have our core values, and that's never going to change. But how we implement, how we communicate, how we market, how we address different situations, it's constantly changing and evolving, and you need to be open to that and embrace a culture of change.
What's one of the biggest mistakes that you've seen companies make with their websites that they probably don't realize is a mistake and it's hurting rather than helping?
Thinking of it as a one-time event. So a lot of companies will say, okay, I'm going to get a new website developed. Oh, we had a new website developed a year ago. It's great and it looks good. And just having a static website is doing more harm, and you're losing out on so much potential business. So a website is a living, breathing, evolving thing. It's not a one-time event. You don't just create it and leave it there for 5 years and then in 5 years update it. It needs to evolve just like your company does. We need to continually add good quality content there. We need to give people a reason to come back. If all our website is an online brochure, there's no reason for anybody to ever come back. So think about that target audience. Think about what their problems, their issues, their headaches are. The headaches that they have right now are different than a lot different than they did 2 years ago. If our website is 3 years old and we don't address any of those current concerns, again, no reason to come back, no reason to trust your company. We're going to go to a competitor. So make sure that it's constantly updated with blogs, articles, resources, ebooks, tips, best practices, and be a resource for people.
Love it. And Brad, I got to ask you, don't you think that these websites, they should put pictures of their candidates on there if they get approval and stuff like that to make it more genuine?
I love that approach. A few years ago, we released something called the Candidate Showcase. So it's almost like a reverse job board, right? Where you could feature top talent instead of just job opportunities, but you could feature people and their skills along with an image and what makes them great. I think that's great for several reasons. One, it shows candidates that you care about them and you're going to go to bat for them and you're going to market them. So it shows value there. On the client side, how great would it be just to go to a staffing company and look at their available talent and choose what's right for me? So I think there's so much value in doing that, but staffing companies are so hesitant because they feel like their clients are going to steal or poach that talent, or their competitors are. And my take is, as long as you build that relationship and you're adding value, they have no reason to try to steal that talent because it's so much easier working with you.
I love it, Brad. You know what? Maybe tomorrow I'll put all my clients out there on LinkedIn and say, go after them and see what happens.
Yep. There you go. Yep.
I was never one to, you mentioned LinkedIn, Richard. There's a way that you can, if I connected with you, I can hide my candidate, my contacts in LinkedIn. I was never one to do that because I'm like, to your point, Brad, if you take one of my contact and one of my relationships from me, well, that's on me, not you. Yep. That's shame on me for not maintaining that relationship. So I was always like, hey, if you're going to be out on a networking site, it's to network. So you should have access to mine and I should have access to yours. And with something like the featured candidates that you were mentioning, I like the concept of that. Could that be done in a way where, with certain clients, you give them secure password privilege to get to that part of your website so that not everybody can just end up there?
For sure. Yeah. And maybe you make it a benefit of being a long-term client. Maybe that's one of the, additional value adds that they get out of that relationship. I love that idea of, so in our industry, we hear all the time of MPCs, most placeable candidates. Let's give our best clients the opportunity to look at those MPCs before anybody else does, before we send them out to the general public. I love that as a value add.
Yes. I love
Agreed.
it. Yep. One quick question I want to throw out at you: the integration of job boards. We all have our take on job boards. I mean, hate to say it, job boards got a bad name these days sometimes, but what do you think about the integration on a website? How important is that?
So I think it's very important. I think I was just actually looking at some internal data from our team. So we have a career portal where staffing companies can put it up on their website and host all of their open job orders. We integrate with a lot of the ATS systems, and they can put those job opportunities up and accept applications. And from there, then they can use job boards like the Indeeds, the Zip Recruiters, Career Builders, Monsters to get those jobs in front of more people and drive some traffic back to their application. But what was interesting is, not surprising, Indeed was the number one driver of applications. They're the 800-pound gorilla. They're the behemoth. But what was really interesting to me is the number two source of applications were direct applications through the staffing company's website. So
Wow.
if you're not actively promoting your own jobs on your own website and making it simple and easy for people to apply, you're, number one, wasting a lot of money on job boards, but number two, missing out on so many candidate opportunities. And that's another big mistake I see staffing companies make, is they'll go out and use their job slots on Indeed and keep that information current, but they're not doing it on their own website.
Right.
And they're just throwing good money after bad money into these job boards. And the job boards are saying, you want more candidates, spend more, spend more, spend more. Well, first, let's exhaust our quote unquote free opportunities and let's get them up on our own website. And then let's use our job board spend more effectively and more efficiently to reach those positions that we can't get applications for or can't fill. So I do think that job boards sometimes are a necessary evil, but we rely on them as an industry too much. There's much more
It's a
opportunity
supplement.
for us. Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
let's get more efficient and more effective with our spend.
Wow, good stuff. I got one more. I'm gonna throw out there, Johnny, because I got full of questions for Brad, man. I'm learning as much as I can right now. Gen Z, where are they searching for jobs? Are they going to the website? Are you guys did any research on that? Where are they at?
Yeah, it's interesting. So a lot of those job searches are starting out on Google. So not necessarily going to Indeed, not necessarily going to a job board, starting out at Google. So whatever you do, whatever you can do to get your jobs indexed on Google for Jobs is very important. So look, if you have a job board, look and make sure that they have I don't want to get too technical here, but there's something called schema markup on the back end of jobs that Google needs to pull in and classify jobs. You need to make sure that that's done appropriately and your jobs are showing up on Google for Jobs. The other thing is a lot of people aren't necessarily searching for specific jobs. They're networking and looking at referrals and talking to people. So you need to do a really good job of building your brand on social and on other places. You need to look at leveraging your relationships with your existing candidates. And, circling back to when we were talking about reviews and videos and networking and everything, you need to do those things so that you can build out your brand. If you've placed one specific candidate that had an amazing experience, let's get a testimonial, let's get a review, let's put their name in lights all over your social, let's tag them so that all their friends, all their connections see your name, your brand, and they seek you out instead of the other way around.
Brad, did you just talk about me? I do a picture. Yep. Every candidate gets a picture, and I just do the hire me handshake, and then they post it on their social media. You get one candidate hired, you got 10 referrals. It works all the time, but nobody does it. Brad, we talked about this. Nobody does it.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy, and you think I don't know why nobody does it. It doesn't take that much time.
You tell them do it. It works for me. Do it, guys.
Yep. Do it and do it well. Follow Richard. Yeah, I mean, you're great at this. You've just and you've built this into your process. It's not even something that you think about. You just do it.
Everybody knows they're getting a pick with me if they get a job. Bottom line, they even know that.
Right.
They do get their hair cut or whatever. Like, hold on, I'm gonna get spruced up for that.
Love it.
But it's fun. It's that engaging, exciting people. That picture and that handshake. That's something we have to be proud about. I mean, they got a job. We both together got them hired. That's what it's all about. Teamwork. That handshake's teamwork.
You've got it. Yep. And people have to get over their fear of seeing their picture or their video or something like that online. You don't have that fear when you're meeting face to face, and it's no different. So let's leverage that content. Let's turn it into a great story.
That's awesome.
I tell you what, I got one thing that was on your website, John. You're going to love this. I love this quote. I don't know who came up with it. It's not just a website; it's a digital branch office.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Was that your creation, Brad?
I don't think that it was. It was probably David Stearns. He probably
Take
came
credit
up with
for
that. But I mean, it gets back to that initial point that we talked about. You spend all this money on branch offices and your physical location, and your website gets 10 times, 100 times the traffic as your physical location. So let's invest in it, and let's make sure that it's not a one-time investment, that it's something that we continue to update and continue to refine.
Yeah, because that first impression is going to keep going on and on and on. And every time someone comes back, you want them to see something different so that they want to come back more. Okay, what's the newest thing they're talking about? What's changed now? What's the latest blog entry? What's the latest video update, training element, whatever it might be? And if, to your point, if you stay static, then why do I, unless I'm going to go to your website and see what jobs you have to offer, what's my other draw to go there? You got to give them more to come back to.
You sure do. And we did a study several years back, and it still holds true, but we found that someone that was a return visitor to your website, so had been there in the past and came back, were 2 to 3 times more likely to complete an application than a first-time visitor. So
makes sense.
We need to give them a reason to come back, and we need to do that through content and solving their problems. And if we can do that, they're going to come back, and eventually they're going to apply.
Great stuff.
It is good stuff. One final question for me. I'm going to pick your brain, Brad, here. Social media. So many staffing firms I see, even in staffing world. Which one should they be on? Should it be on them all? I mean, I see some just do Facebook or whatever. I'm a firm believer of put them on all. Yours should be everywhere. But what are the core ones they need to get to the next level?
It's a good question. It's one that we get a lot, and I wish I had like a solid defined answer for you, Richard. I wish I could say, you know what, you need to be on Facebook and Instagram, and that's it. But the real answer is it depends. So it depends on your audience. It depends on who you're trying to recruit. It depends on who you're trying to do business with. It also depends on your personal brand too. So I'll give you an example. Nurses. You're trying to recruit a nurse, and if you're spending all of your time and your focus on LinkedIn, you're not going to reach them.
Right.
My wife's a nurse. She's a nurse practitioner. She doesn't have a LinkedIn account. She's never on it. Now, some people in other professional settings eat, sleep, and breathe LinkedIn, especially us as recruiters or HR professionals. We're on LinkedIn all the time. So it depends on your audience, and you really need to identify where your target audience exists. As recruiters, we're on LinkedIn a lot. And I feel like sometimes that's the default go-to in terms of social platforms. But if you're spending all of your time and energy there and your target audience is only on LinkedIn 2 minutes a month, you're not going to get the ROI that you want. So you need to look at platforms like a Facebook, like an Instagram, in order to reach that target audience. So I would do some research on who your target is, and then identify what platforms they're on and how often they're on that platform. I do, however, like the approach of creating content on your website and having it as the hub there, and then using social platforms as a way to amplify that message. So I like to create it once and amplify it on different audience or different networks. You have to adjust that message so that it fits for that platform. But I'd love to create a piece of content that's on our website, leverage that multiple times on Facebook, post it into Facebook groups, maybe put some paid Facebook spend behind it. Then look at LinkedIn, post it to my personal profile, my company profile, all of my team members' profiles, and then leverage LinkedIn groups. Post it out to Twitter and maybe take little quotes or snippets from the article or the piece of content, and maybe do that 15, 20 times over the course of 2 or 3 months and drive all that traffic back to the website. Maybe you turn that into a short little TikTok video, or maybe you take a great article that's really performing well on your site and turn that into a video article and get it up on YouTube. So really just try to think through, how can we create a really great piece of content that solves a very specific problem? And then how do we use each of the different social networks to get it in front of the right target audience?
It's a great lesson for everybody listening is understanding what you're going to get out of each social platform, knowing who the audience is, and knowing if it's if it should be your prime driver or if it should be one that you have a presence to get you somewhere else. Whether, a lot of people I know in healthcare will use LinkedIn. We may not, it's not a job board. So you post a job out there, you're not going to get resumes. You're just not going to get responses, but you can find people who can connect you with more people. So it's more of it's that networking aspect versus Facebook. And I don't know if your wife's on Facebook or not, but that's the mecca for healthcare recruiting, primarily nurses. So, again, different attitudes, different mindsets, different strategies on what to expect from those platforms going in.
For sure, yeah, and the one, I guess, final word of wisdom I would give is a lot of people have this misconception that social media is free, and while it can be, and there's a lot of free opportunities out there, if you put just a little bit of paid behind it, we can target nurses in a specific radius with a specific specialty area and get our content, our jobs, other information in front of them. So look at a little bit of paid, and it's going to go a long way for you too.
Wow. All this information, Johnny. Any final thoughts? I mean, Brad gave us a lot of insight today.
And I imagine Brad's only scratching the surface with us. So we appreciate you taking time out to shed some light. What stuck out to me, a couple things that Brad said that I'll take with me is content. And also I love the phrase, be the guide, not the hero. So that's one that really hit home for me and it made a lot of sense.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. This was fun.
Exactly. And Brad, where can they reach you at? I know you're all over social media, but tell everybody where they can see you at.
You've got it. So visit haleymarketing.com. You'll see me there. I'm very active on LinkedIn because I do a lot of networking with other business owners and consultants there. So you can find me on LinkedIn. Type in Brad Smith at Haley Marketing, and you'll have no issue finding me at all.
Well, hey, thank you so much. I'm going to leave on this note. If you need a website or need any help, I'm telling you, I've known this team probably for 8 years. I follow everything that they do, and I just enhance it myself and my little twist on my own way. But no, seriously, you need somebody to help you out with your driving force. Brad gave you so many good tips today, but just reach out to them. They have all kind of free webinars and all that. Am I correct, Brad? You have everything that you can give people to get to the next level.
We're big proponents on free education. We want to teach you how to be great marketers, and whether you do that on your own or you use us for a piece of it, we're just happy that you use that information and elevate the industry as a whole. So there's a lot of great free content that we provide.
And one thing about Haley is that people need to know is they understand our business. They understand our industry. There's a lot of marketing firms out there that are just generic marketing across the board. These folks have invested a lot of time and effort into catering solutions for the staffing and recruiting industry. So that's something to be proud of.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
Superstar, trust me.
Yep. Well, thank you both
so much for being on. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brad.
I was just going to say thank you both so much. I really appreciate it. This was wonderful.
Hey, it's fun.
Appreciate
you know what? That just real quick, that shot did not kick in, so I guess it must have been H2O, right?
Or just maybe time for another.
That's it. Well, hey, once again, thank you so much. Hey, everybody out there, have a great week. We'll see you next Wednesday, same place, same time. Take care.
Take care, everybody.
Take care. Bye.